Hey, how goes it? Welcome back. Glad to have you guys. So today I'm just gonna pick up where I left off with my story regarding being incarcerated and some of the things that happened while I was in there. So like I said, I was put into a 4-man cell, which was actually pretty big. I mean, this thing was probably 20 feet long by, I don't know, 10 feet wide. I mean, it was pretty big. Granted, there's 4 of us living in there, but it was good sized. So, anyways, these guys, so one of them was in there for manslaughter. One of them was in there for like drug-related crimes, and the other one was in there for a burglary. So they asked me, first question as soon as I'm in there was, hey, what are you in here for? And do you have your paperwork? Well, when you come from intake to the new facility, even though at our intake facility you can't do commissary, you can't do any of that, they still hold your stuff for, however long it takes them to look through it. So I didn't have my paperwork, but, I reassured them. I said, hey, all my charges are delivery of heroin and possession of heroin. Initially, I was charged with 2 counts of delivery, 2 counts of possession, 1 count of possession of meth, and 1 count of possession of a firearm, which that got dropped. Well, that's a whole other story in itself, honestly. So I told them what I was here for, and they're like, all right, cool. And they know the drill. Like, everyone knows that you don't have your sheet right away. But with everyone knowing, the prison and the staff, they know too. So what they do is they bring you something called your face sheet. And that has your charges, how much time each charge is, and, what county, and then if you did in fact have charges in a different county, if you have to go back and serve time at that. It has all the information on it. So later that night they brought the fact sheet in for me and everything was cool. So when I got there, it was, probably 3 in the afternoon. Well, so we had evening chow, dinner time, right? And I was kind of weirded out about it. It's like, because there's definitely sections to where you sit. Like, you have the EK tables, European Kindred, you have IPS, the Skinheads, Brood has a table, the West, there's all kinds of tables there. And then there's like 2 tables for like sex offenders, bad dudes, right? So I'm kind of explaining to them, I'm like, so, can I just sit with one of you guys till I kind of get this figured out? And they're like, oh, yeah. And mind you, at this time, I don't know what tables are what. So we go and we sit at a table, and he's telling me, he's like, okay, that's a good dude table, that's a good dude table, that's a good dude table. Don't sit there, don't sit there. That's their table, that's their table. Just kind of laying the land down for me. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we eat chow, and it's weird, I remember this, because it was burritos or tacos that night. I remember that first day like it was yesterday, man. Like, it's weird how things like that stick out in your mind. And coming from intake, I was like tripping a little bit, because they had salt and pepper on the tables, juice, like, I'm like, wow, this ain't so bad. Like, so we go back, and I kind of get settled in. Well, the next day, no, it wasn't for breakfast. I ate with one of them for breakfast. But the next day, right, during lunch, so once you've been there for a while, you get a job and you go to certain places, and, you're not everyone's eating chow at the same time. They have like a workers line, and people's schedules are different. So it ended up that I had to go to lunch by myself. Second day. So I go, and I sit at one of the tables. He tells me I can, right? And as soon as I get there, someone comes up behind me. He's like, hey, this is a West Side table. I'm like, oh man, you know, I totally didn't know. He's like, well, are you a good dude? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, no, it's cool, just stay, you know. And then that dude put me on game. I'll never forget that dude either. So he kind of explained it to me, and he's like, most of the time, if you're a good dude, like, people aren't going to trip on it. But don't think that you can just sit wherever you want, whenever you want. I'm like, alright, you know. Well, so this dude also kind of let me know some other things, like as far as we have, like, there's a multi-room, and, like, when I was there was only certain people who were playing in the handball court, like, different races or gangs or things like that will have certain things on lock differently than others, if that makes sense. So he put me on game about some other things, and so I go back to my unit, right, and I pick out a book, and I start reading my book, and then they come back, my cellies, and I kind of explain the situation to him, and he's like, oh dude, I'm so sorry. So fast forward a little bit, I get settled in, right, and this was, probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 months into my stay, right? Well, something happened on a different yard where all of a sudden, you know, two gangs started clashing, right? And I think it's really crazy. Like, when I hear other people's stories and they're like, oh yeah, they got in a fight in the chow hall and got 60 days, like, so in Oregon, if you get in a fight in the chow hall, it's like an automatic 180, exciting a riot. Like, they do not mess around with that. So, anyways, you can feel the tension in the air, right? So these two dudes, they tray up at the same time, and no sooner than they got out that door did they start smashing on each other. And it's just like everyone says, man, you know what's going on, but nobody's acting any different. And it was like a good 45 seconds to a minute before anybody even realized it. And that's just because they got cameras, like there's always somebody watching that stuff. So these dudes take off on each other, and I mean, they were going at it. I know 45 seconds doesn't seem like that long, but when you're smashing and going out as hard as you can, that's a long time. Like, contrary to what you might think, that is a long time. So that was like one of my first whoa experiences, you know what I mean? And then, so fast forward like another month or two, right? And this is the craziest thing, man. So these chow halls, I mean, at least at EOCI where I was at, I mean, it probably holds a good 200 people or so. So, I don't know exactly what was going on political-wise, but all of a sudden, one of the shot callers for a white gang comes in, and then this native dude comes in, and it gets quiet. I mean, so quiet. Like, you hear the term, you could hear a pin drop, literally. Like, it was just ghostly quiet. And I thought for sure, I'm like, I'm getting ready. I don't know what's going to happen. And they do their talking or whatever, and they shook hands and walked away. I'm like, what? Like, I thought for sure it was about to get crazy, right? Oh, it's such an eerie feeling. Like, I know I keep saying like a lot, but it was crazy. Because that's 200 people that potentially will be going at it. Not all the time, because if it's between one race and another, or one gang and another, a lot of times it'll be just them two, whites and blacks. But then again, there's instances where, like, this is totally just make believe, right? Let's say Puerto Ricans run with whites, or the blacks run with the Hawaiians, you know what I mean? So that kind of can get confusing because it changes a little bit too, so it can definitely get skewed at times. But when that chow hall gets quiet, man, even the cops, you can tell, or COs, whatever, that they're wigging a little bit. Like, they don't know what's going to happen or when it's going to happen. But nothing happened in that instance, right? So this is probably another few months later. This one was pretty nerve-wracking, if you will. So at EO, the way the chow hall works is on the right side, that's where the blacks get served, and on the left side, that's where the whites get served. And then everyone else kind of falls in and on different sides, except for on the right side, that's where you get veggie trays too. So it's not like you absolutely can't go over there, but 99 times out of 100, if you're not getting a veggie tray, there's no reason for you to be over there. So anyways, the chow hall segregated. You go through the lines, and then you come down this little aisle, and that's where your silverware and cups are, right? Well, there's tables right here and right here, if that makes any sense. Anyways, those are the tables you don't really want to sit at, because people will accidentally bump up against you, and it's just, you know, it is not prime real estate, let's just say that. So anyways, I'm sitting at one of those tables, and I have a view of both doors, right? This one was crazy. So three black dudes come in, right? And there's another black dude sitting at a table, and it was almost like something out of a movie. Like, he locked eyes with one of them, and those three dudes took off after this dude. I mean, they jumped over a table and they start pounding this dude. Well, this cop, what was his name? The CO, anyways, he comes, and so at the end, that's where the two rapist tables are. He jumps over one of these rapist tables and starts spraying these dudes. And they're blinded, the three dudes, right? But they're still beating on this dude. Well, it ended up happening that two of these dudes started beating up the other third guy. Like, the dude who was getting beat up, he ducked under a table and was like, you know, forget this. So then the other two dudes started beating their buddy up. Oh. And I mean, it wasn't funny it was kind of funny at the time, but it was more so the anticipation of what was going to happen. But I think the situation there was that single dude, I don't know if he like raped this girl's sister, or he did something to one of these dude's family members, and because dude took flight, his two homeboys took flight too, and nobody knew what was going on. Like, even their own people were like, that's weird, you know what, you know. So they kind of stepped back, but it was a good one. I mean, they mollywopped the dude pretty good before they started mollywopping their homeboy too. Some of the stuff you see, you know, you can't unsee it. So I also got another story that is going to be a story all in itself, but about this dude getting stabbed up pretty good out on the yard. It was definitely a gruesome moment. And then I'm trying to find, so Snake River in 2010 maybe, I'm not sure. Anyways, there was a huge riot. I mean, National Guard had to come in and shut this thing down. Huge riot, like inmates running the prison for a few days riot. So I'm trying to find somebody who was there when that happened, but you know, I only know so many people, and so far I haven't had any luck. But through my friends and friends of friends, I'm trying to see if I can't get somebody to just kind of get the aspect of that, like what it's like during that, because I never experienced anything quite that crazy. But yeah, there's definitely been some wild incidences here in Oregon, and just recently we had a dude who, you know, he died because, you know, COs didn't take his situation seriously, and unfortunately he lost his life. Life's a very precious thing. Just remember that. Oh, so with that, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate your guys' time very much. This week was super hectic, and I apologize for not getting any content out immediately. But if I ever find that memory card, I have like 2 videos on there. Anyways, I will try and get something out to you soon. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. You can definitely expect a Sunday video. And remember, if I can get clean and sober, guys, and live my best life, so can you. If you guys need any advice or pointers, help, reach out to me. I'll leave my Instagram and my Twitter in the link below, or you can email me. I don't check that email too often, so I'm not ignoring you. I will get back to you. But with that being said, y'all have a great day. Until I see you next time, take care, guys.